Story 1, Dunkaroos. I swear I could have lived off those little frosting packs. Story 2, three-dimensional Doritos were short-lived, but man, were they good. Story 3, I still buy Freeze Pops every year, even as an adult. I do not have any children. I buy them for myself. Story 4, I went through a big phase where I would just eat a head of iceberg lettuce with ranch dressing. Story 5, honestly, if loving fruit roll UPS is wrong, I don't want to be right. Story 6, cheese crisps. A mound of grated cheddar cheese on a flour tortilla crisped in the toaster oven until the cheese was salty, melted, and gooey. The tortilla became crispy and golden. My mother, my sister, and I snapped off pieces and ate them eagerly. Story 7. My mom would have cucumbers and ranch dressing all cut up and ready for me when I got home from school. Story 8. I used to take the condensed milk from the cupboard. Once it was free, I would eat it. I loved it so much. Story 9. Oh man, I was absolutely feral for Dunkaroos. The cookie part was fine, but that little tub of frosting was straight up crack for 8-year-old me. I'd run out of cookies and shamelessly eat the frosting with my finger like a sugar gremlin. What about you? Did you have a can't stop, won't stop snack? Story 10, Gushers. I was rarely allowed to have them because they were too expensive. Story 11. My grandparents' cookie jar was always full of those cheap vanilla and chocolate sandwich cream cookies. I can still finish a family-size package in a week. Story 12. Toast, just buttered and cut into quarters. Mummy-o did this every afternoon after school. Story 13. Wonder Balls. A chocolate ball that had Smarties and stickers inside. I had one as an adult, and the chocolate quality was very poor. I was such a sucker for the gimmick, though. Story 14. Nutty Bars. I bought a box the other day after many years. They are still pretty good. Story 15. My aunt made us white rice with cut-up hot dogs mixed in and ketchup on top. I was obsessed with it throughout primary school. Story 16. Space food sticks were made by Pillsbury in the 1970s. They were a non-frozen energy snack in rod form containing nutritionally balanced amounts of carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Story 17. In Brazil, we have a yogurt called Dananinho. Many parents used to put a popsicle stick in it and freeze it. It was my favorite childhood snack because, besides being delicious, it was made with love. Story 18. Fried bologna sandwiches. I grew up in a San Francisco neighborhood that was very diverse. My elementary school was 2 blocks away. For lunch, I would sometimes bring kids from my class to show them how a slice of fried bologna would turn into a hat. I thought I was so cool back then. Story 19. Garden tomatoes. Rinse them off with the hose and mow them down until only the very green ones remain. Laughing out loud, they are worse than all the neighborhood rabbits and squirrels combined. Story 20. French toast crunch. Chocolate toaster strudels, Dannon Sprinklins, Oreo OS, Kudos bars, Spaghetti OS, and Lunchables with chicken nuggets. Story 21. Butter and honey on white bread. Kind of a poverty snack, but it's great. I still make it sometimes. It's even better on fancy bread. Story 22. It was not a snack I was obsessed with, but I have type 1 diabetes and I had a set food and carbohydrate ratio. 45 grams of carbohydrate for breakfast, 15 grams for a mid-morning snack, 45 grams for lunch, 15 grams for an afternoon snack, and 60 grams for dinner. My mother discovered that Little Debbie oatmeal pies contain about 15 grams of carbohydrate, so I had to eat them from 1st through 6th grade, every day, twice a day. Now I cannot even stand to be in the same room as them. Story 23. Those dried chow mein noodles from La Choy Chow, I think. I would also eat crushed up raw ramen from Marukan. Story 24. Flaming hot Doritos. I used to take 28 pence in change a few times a week to buy a bag from the shop before school. Story 25. Haw Flakes, White Rabbit, strawberry candies, and warheads when I was a teenager. Story 26. During my preteen years, my favorite snack was a pack of saltines and an opened can of chili. Story 27. Hershey's bars, the thick version from the 1980s, were so good. I am not sure if they are still made. They were at least 1 inch thick, if not more. Story 28. Swoops were chocolate but shaped like Pringles. Story 29. Marshmallows no longer have a tolerable flavor. They taste as if I swallowed a glass of perfume. I wonder if something was added to the mix. Story 30. They came in small bags and were in various shapes. There were Scooby-Doo gummies and Flintstones gummies. I could not remember their name, but I wanted them all the time as a child. Story 31. If left to my own devices, I would eat bricks of cream cheese. I still like it, but the idea of eating an entire brick makes me queasy. Story 32. I never got to try Dunkaroos as a kid, but a few classmates had them for lunch. I always wanted to try them. I'm gonna try one as soon as I see it. Story 33. I ate blocks of Kraft extra sharp cheddar cheese as a kid. It was my favorite snack. Story 34. Ketchup. I used to steal the bottle from the fridge and chug it like it was juice. My family had to snatch it from me. I'm 21 now and dislike ketchup. Story 35. Gushers. Nothing made me feel more powerful as a kid than biting into one and pretending my head exploded like in the commercials. Story 36. Flamin' Hot Cheetos asteroids were in a black plastic cylinder. The lid was a small cup you could pour them into. Story 37. Hot Cheetos. At least 3 bags a day of the 35-cent bag. Story 38. Choco pie, but I doubt anyone here even knows what that is. Story 39. I used to dip buttered popcorn in tropical punch Kool-Aid, laughing my ass off. Story 40. Bachmann pretzel sticks were about 4 to 5 inches long, spaghetti thin and covered in salt. They came in packs of 20 to 30 pretzels, and I could eat them until I became dehydrated. They were extremely delicious. Story 41. Place large shredded wheat biscuits in the oven with a pat of butter on each. Sprinkle sugar or honey over them. Story 42. I'm showing my age and wondering if anyone remembers these. Keebler's pizzerias were tortilla chips that actually tasted like pizza. The closest I can remember is they tasted like a Cool Ranch Dorito mixed with a regular Dorito. Story 43. When I was 5 or 6, I used to walk down to the corner store to buy my mother's cigarettes. There was a time when it was legal for children to buy cigarettes, laughing out loud. I would also buy myself a very fine papaya juice and a Little Debbie banana twin. Story 44. Potato chips and cream cheese. I still eat that combination a lot, and my husband thinks I am a weirdo. Story 45. Oh, I was addicted to Dunkaroos. I would dip those cookies into the frosting as if it were my job. What is the one snack you would still eat way too much of if no one were watching? Story 46. Maraschino cherries, ice cream with honey, mini Oreos and milk like cereal, Klondike bars, peanut butter on nearly anything, tea or milk with Lorna Doone biscuits, dipping Wendy's nuggets in a Frosty, and putting barbecue sauce on fries, burgers, or even hot dogs occasionally. I also strained Bush's baked beans juice to use as hot dog sauce with mustard or a little sweet relish. I used to replace soda with canned pineapple juice. Story 47. Wheat Crunch was a delicious Canadian snack. I wish they still made it. Story 48. I got out of bed while everyone was asleep and had a spoonful of peanut butter. Story 49. Mix peanut butter with Caro syrup and eat it on saltine crackers or fold it over. A longtime favorite for those of us who cannot get enough corn syrup in our diets. Story 50. Star Crunch was like a chocolate-covered Rice Krispie treat with caramel. I don't know if they still exist. Pudding pops were amazing. Story 51. Chocodiles and cream horns. We had a corner store we could walk to and a little money to spend. Delicious. Story 52. I still love Grandma Oots's kettle chips with creamy peanut butter. Story 53. I do not know if shapes exist in the United States. They might be an Australia and New Zealand thing. Basically, they bake a tray-sized biscuit about half a finger thick, season it with whatever flavor, barbecue, pizza, cheese, bacon, chicken, and so on, then cut it into inch-sized pieces and sell it in a box. The snack I was obsessed with came from the competing brand in a biscuit. Same concept, different shapes and flavors. I particularly loved the cheese ones because they were cut with holes like Swiss cheese, and that cutting made the flavor seem much stronger. They changed the pattern to a regular wave cut around 2005, and I cannot find the original box art online, so these things are lost to time. They are literally my fry and the anchovies food from Futurama. Story 54. Gushers. I always demanded them on every road trip and vacation. Then I got older and realized they kind of suck. Story 55. When I was chubby, I would get 2 packs of double chocolate Mother's cookies from the baseball field snack shack whenever my sister played softball. Laughing out loud. Story 56. Vintner's Crunchy Curls chips were the superior Flamin' Hot Cheetos. The recipe has changed since I was a child, and the recent version is acceptable, but the one I remember was like crack in a bag. Story 57. Saltine crackers with hot sauce on the salted side, placed down on the tongue. I have no idea why, and now I need to go get some saltine crackers and hot sauce. Story 58. Habanero-flavored Doritos. Bring them back, for goodness sake. Story 59. As a kid, I went through so many bags of movie theater buttered popcorn. It makes me sad because I now have digestive issues and cannot eat popcorn anymore. Story 60. Peanut butter and bacon folded into a slice of toast. Real bacon or bacon bits did not matter. Story 61. Salt and vinegar chips dipped in ketchup, or buttered slices of white bread. Story 62. A peanut butter sandwich with milk. My parents received the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children, so we always had bread, peanut butter, and milk in the house. Story 63. Homemade puffed wheat squares. Retired and still love them. Story 64. Nabisco bacon thins. Tastykake butterscotch crimpets. The ones they make today aren't the same. Chef Boyardee ravioli or spaghetti and meatballs. Story 65. I had Dunkaroos in elementary school in the early 1990s and vanilla drumsticks later on. I would help my friend with her paper route and stop at her grandmother's house on the route. Grandma always offered drumsticks. My friend often said no thanks, but I wanted to say yes every time. I still love drumsticks. Story 66. I eat a cup of noodles, but I always call them sucky noodles for some reason. Story 67. My nan would bake fresh rolls, and I loved spreading margarine on one straight from the oven or heating one in the microwave. I would also toast an English muffin and add a slice of American cheese. I don't know why I loved it. People will say use real butter or cheese. But these 2 specific lower-cost ingredients always take me back to time with my grandma. To this day, when I have them, I am transported back, so butter or a higher quality cheese does not have the same effect. Story 68. Those granola bars were coated in chocolate. I remember they even had a peanut butter flavor. Story 69. I do not remember the name, but they used to sell a purple-colored ice cream with a bubblegum ball at the bottom in a plastic cone. I also loved Dippin' Dots ice cream. Story 70. I was really into Scooby-Doo graham crackers and Scooby-Doo fruit snacks back then. Story 71. I wouldn't say I was obsessed, but one of my favorites was Little Debbie Swiss rolls. They must have changed the formula because they just do not taste the same anymore, and I swear the inner chocolate looks kind of reddish now instead of chocolate brown. I also liked Snowballs a lot. Oddly, I did not like the coconut coating very much, despite liking coconut. The chocolate with the icing in the center was the best part. Sometimes I would take a bite or 2 and then peel the coconut coating off. A few times I did not even bite it first. I just peeled it off. Nesquik chocolate milk must have changed its formula because it used to be amazing, especially with a hot dog. The last few times I tried it, it tasted chalky. Definitely not the same as in childhood. There used to be coffee-flavored Oreos. They were the best flavored Oreos and should not have been discontinued. There was a limited edition latte-flavored thin Oreo, which was okay but not quite the same. Why were they only available in thin size? I wanted them full-sized. Reese's Bites were another great snack that was discontinued. They were so good, though a little hard to find. The only places I knew to get them were Hollywood Video, which dates it, and the nearby Holiday gas station. Story 72. The Cheez-Its Spicy Jack flavor was so good. I'm impatiently waiting until next year for the gluten-free version. I haven't found a good replacement in 6 years. It's the one snack I miss so much. Story 73. Warm Costco chocolate muffins in the microwave for 15 to 20 seconds. Story 74. Butter on soda crackers. It didn't used to cost $1,000. Story 75. Hostess cupcakes. The cream filling was so much better in the 60s. Story 76. I used to take a slice of American cheese, fold it into fourths, and eat it with generic Ritz crackers. Story 77. Fruit roll-ups. Fried chicken thighs with breading. I kept a rack of them in the fridge. Story 78. Fruit roll-ups in the 1980s as a child and gushers as a teenager in the 1990s. Story 79. A piece of bologna topped with American cheese, a spot of mayonnaise or ketchup, rolled up. The earliest form of a snack. Story 80. Lay's original potato chips are still my favorite. As a kid, it was incredibly easy to make me a happy camper. All my dad had to do was get me a bag of Lay's, and I was set for quite a while. Story 81. In the mid to late 1960s, there were great shakes. It was a powdered mix that came in an individual serving pouch and was mixed with milk in a special shaker cup. They thickened up a bit, so they were not exactly true milkshakes, but the flavor was fantastic. I remember the chocolate and vanilla. Story 82. Double color cookies inside Chocolatella were one of my favorite snacks. Story 83. I loved sandwiches, specifically mayonnaise and lettuce on white bread. I ate them all the time and my family was disgusted. Story 84. Canned tuna with sweet relish on saltine crackers, cosmic brownies, tomatoes with ranch, parmesan and croutons, otter pops, and nothing else in high school. Laughing out loud. Story 85. I was such a fat little fucker, and I liked to pretend I was characters from films I watched. I often watched the same movie over and over before moving on to the next. Not long after I got iRobot on digital video disc, I needed some new trainers, so I asked my mom for some Converse trainers because of how fresh they looked in the film. I went through a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory phase. When Augustus Gloop is introduced, he bites into full-size chocolate bars. That amazed me because I had never thought not to break the chocolate along the pre-designated segments. For a while, every day after school I would get 2 big chocolate bars. This was about 20 years ago, so the bars were about twice the size they are now. They were chocolate with off-brand Smarties throughout. I would take them home and watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as I munched on the bars just like Augustus Gloop. When I went through a Garfield phase, I would buy large bags of Morrison's brand Wotsits because they sold a very large bag for about £1, and I would shovel them into my mouth the way Garfield does in that film, sitting on the couch watching television. It's crazy now that I type it all out. Story 86. I liked those dippable Oreo sticks that came with a small container of white icing. I would freeze the icing and eat the frozen block while eating the cookie sticks separately. Laughing out loud. Story 87. We had candy and soda pop, but they were not snacks. The formal phrase, "let us have a snack," was not part of our lives until the 70s. Story 88. I used to put whole pixie sticks in my mouth, chew them, and then spit out the paper like a spent wad of chewing tobacco. On a more normal note, chips and salsa are still my favorite. Story 89. I grew up in the countryside, where we had cows and a bee farm. I loved having honey bread with milk. Story 90. You'd sprint outside with crumpled dollar bills, praying they still had Choco Tacos or those screwballs with the gumball at the bottom. Those character pops like Sonic, Tweety, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with eyes crooked from melting somehow tasted even better. Story 91. I have always loved mushrooms, and my mom would occasionally make mushroom chips in her food dehydrator. They were slightly crispy, slightly chewy, and absolutely delicious. Story 92. My cousin used to hunt lizards when she was 6. They were the size of small puppies and tasted good. Many lizards and geckos grow quite large here. Story 93. The Philadelphia cheesecake snack bars from the 90s. I used to eat them every afternoon after school. Story 94. Sodalicious were fruit snacks that tasted so much like soda that I became quite addicted. Story 95. Not a snack, but apple juice. The amount of apple juice in our house was horrifying, and I am the reason. Story 96. White bread with a layer of white sugar. We never had snacks, so that satisfied my sweet tooth. Story 97. When I was a kid, I would take a small plate, unwrap 3 or 4 slices of Kraft cheese, layer them crisscross on top of each other, then microwave it for 30 seconds. Once it was done, I would scrape it off the plate with my finger and eat it fingerful by fingerful. I was an unhinged child. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.